Welcome, welcome, welcome. Season 3, Wind Down with Kev. I am Kevin Spann, the insurance guru, and I am so excited today. This season, the hashtag has changed the narrative and party people in the place to be. Trust me, we are going to change the narrative on this one. Welcome, welcome, welcome to another episode of Wind Down with Kev. By day, I am an Allstate insurance agent, and by night, I am the host of this wonderful podcast and party people in the place to be. I am very excited with the guests I am going to bring to you today. Today, I have with me my good friend of many, many years, phenomenal author, publisher, and many other things. But let me start it off by letting her introduce herself. Tracy Wilkins Francis.
Woo!
Tracy, yeah.
Hey.
Talk to the people. Tell them who you are.
Yes. My name is Tracy Wilkins Francis. I am a Wyandanch resident. I was raised there. I live there and I work there. I graduated with the class of 1986.
86 in the house.
And I have one amazing son and one wonderful husband. And like Kevin said, I am a children's author of eight books and counting. And I'm also a publisher.
Outstanding. Well, Tracy, you gave me a lot of material to dive in. So, as you know, like I'm not a trained host at this, so we're just going to go with the flow. We're going to go with the flow. You said so much. So let's start with your beautiful family. Shout out to my brother, your husband, Mike Francis, my man, my friend, 50 grand in the whole 9 yards. Later, we got to get to what an incredible couple you guys are, because for two. Let's start at the top. Let's start right there. You know my wife, Denise.
Yes.
She and I are yin and yang. I am the extrovert. She's the introvert. She's always with me, but she prefers not to be seen. You and Mike are low-key as people, but creatively, you both are doing the doggone thing. How does that work?
We just really feed off of each other. I think Mike, I can have an idea, and Mike will run it from 0 to 100. Sometimes I have to slow him down. wait. Well, I'm still processing what I just said. So it's just really bouncing ideas off each other, supporting one another. I mean, there's some crazy things that I've wanted to do. There's some crazy things that he wanted to do, but just still having that support and sometimes bringing us down a little bit. Like, well, I don't know if that's quite going to work.
And now you're creative, and you see it, you believes it. Mike is creative. Mike writes in a whole different genre of movies and books and films.
Mm-hmm.
So he has his thing that he's thinking about. How is it when you have this idea that you think is phenomenal, and how does that slightest, I'm not sure, how does that work?
Very gently.
Take notes, people. Take notes.
Very gently.
Gently,
lovingly.
Yes.
Like, let's think about this for a moment. So, I mean, we don't get offended or anything like that when it comes to that. Well, okay, maybe. No, not really. So maybe just like, what? Are you kidding me? And then we think about it. It's like, okay, I guess you were right.
Right.
But for the most part, we make it work.
Now, you have a beautiful household. We're definitely going to talk about Jojo, your one and only, your phenomenal son. But when you guys are writing, you're living with these characters in your head.
Yes.
So how do you, Mike, Joseph, also an author in his own right, and all these characters that you guys have, how do they get along in the house?
Well, if you see some of my posts that I've made, you see that our house looks like Sesame Street, really, especially my office. They get along well. they blend together.
Beautiful.
They find this cohesiveness.
Yes.
Where they have no other choice but to get along.
We got to make it. We together, especially now. So Trace, you started off acknowledging your immediate family. I'd be remiss without acknowledging your mom, your
Yes.
dad,
Oh,
your brother. Your
absolutely.
support system
Yes.
is incredible.
Yes.
Wherever you go, whatever you do,
They're there.
they're there.
Absolutely.
They are there. So shout out to mom, dad, your brother. Just beautiful, beautiful people. In your opening, you introduced yourself as a fellow wine dance warrior and a member of what I think and people, don't come after me for this.
That's right. Don't come after.
People. The class of '86 is the closest class in the history of wine dance. My question is why? What is the glue that binds the class of '86 together?
I don't know. We've always been that way. We've had disagreements. We might not agree with each other, but we always make sure that we're there for each other. So I don't know. I guess it's just love.
Love is that binding agreement because I watch y'all. Y'all show up for each other's stuff.
Yes.
Your 40th, your 50th, your weddings, your losses. All love. Y'all experience everything.
And other events too, not to cut you off, but I have a couple of classmates. They have boutiques in terms of clothes and stuff. We're always there for each other with their lives. Sharon Thacker Tucson, Retta Young, just I can name a whole bunch of other people. Even in the school district, there were a lot of us who worked in the school district. Shelly and Eddie, and I can't think of everybody right now, but we were always, there for one. Even if we dropped by to say, "Hey, what's going on? How you doing?" So
that one attachment, class of '86, y'all have it. It shows up. It's obvious. Don't argue with me. They got it. That's my choice. That's my view of looking at wine dance, not only from the perspective of shout out class of '80, but from my time in working with Wine Dance Day and just seeing different classes navigate and do everything together. And especially you guys show up a lot together on social media, always having each other's back, always plugging each other. And that's big. Having support is everything. So Tracy, let's go ahead and jump into it.
okay.
My theme for this season is #change the narrative. And you are a person that has changed the narrative not once, not twice, but a couple of times. So if we had done this 10 years ago, maybe a little longer, I'd be asking you about spirit of soul.
Yes. Yes.
So we'll get into that. But right now, you've just shifted from working at the district for many years to your new venture as an author. So talk about how did you change the narrative? How did you get past all the voices in your head that says, could I do this? Should I do this? How did you do that?
With a lot of prayer and support. I wanted to leave probably a few years ago because I was feeling like I'm not able to do this the way I wanted to, but it wasn't time yet.
Okay.
It wasn't time yet. I mean, my husband was like, well, do it. I'm like, I don't know if it's time yet. So it got to a point, I think, where I just couldn't do it anymore.
Okay.
And I think with the onset of the pandemic and being home, I worked from home, and I also had an opportunity to work a lot more on my books and things to grow my business. That time home really gave me a perspective, a different perspective. Life is too short.
Yes.
Life is way too short. Just go for it. Your husband has your back. This is the perfect opportunity. Because of the pandemic, everyone's locked down to transition to full-time author. And I don't regret it at all. I'm like, why did I wait that long? I think it's a reason. So
and now you are living the dream.
I'm living the dream.
You are living the dream. You are telling a story. You posted something. I did a little bit of research this morning, just looking at your journey, your transition from 0 to 8, 9 books you published, Joseph's published. So what you wrote about Mike's book, but that transition to do so much so quick. You had one post. I'm going to get the quote wrong, so correct me. Which pretty much said, "Give voice to that story in your head." What was the exact quote? And tell me what the impetus of.
Let me see if I can remember. Oh gosh, the voices
Yes.
inside your head. I know I'm gonna get it wrong. But it's something like if the voices are screaming or calling inside your head, it's time to push and give birth.
Yes, yes, that was it. That was it. That's phenomenal. If the voices that are screaming in your head, it's time to give birth. And that's something I think that's for men and women. We all have ideas.
Yes.
And so this is giving birth to those ideas. Here it is. Here's the story. We all have a story to tell. And you not only tell the story verbally, you're not only telling that story by posting it, but you have taken the next step and put it into writing. So let's get into the books. Which one of these books is first? Who's first up?
Firstborn, 2015, 2014.
2014.
Birthday bubbles.
The real life adventure of Jojo Bean. And I am a terrible host, people, because I forgot to acknowledge one of the guests that's in the room that's present with us today. So we have Mr. Jojo Bean on set. He's the first guest to occupy that seat that was just decorative before, but he said, no, Kev, I don't want to sit back here. I want to chill there. And that's where he's at. So before it's over, we might actually have him on the table. And this is Birthday Bubbles. And this is Jojo Bean. And tell me about who your audience is when you're writing for this book. What age children?
Okay, so all these books, except for these two, well, these two too, but that's chapter books, but all the picture books are for children ages 4 to 8. I've had some parents to buy for even younger. The Jojo Bean Adventures, it is actually based on my son, the real Jojo Bean, a.k.a. Joe the Warrior now, because he's too old to be called Jojo Bean. I was inspired to write because of him.
Beautiful. Having your son, watching him grow, watching him do different things. You're looking at this beautiful young man, and what do you see? What do you see that makes you want to write?
Well, the truth of the matter is that, I'm an avid reader. I was always an avid reader. I love to write. My friend and I, when we were in 4th grade, we used to sit and write, and we branded our own stuff by tying red ribbons around it and stuff like that. So actually, for those who don't know, because a lot of people think my first dream was to own a dance studio.
Okay.
It's not.
Okay.
This is actually my first dream. My second dream was a dance studio, so I did it in reverse.
Okay.
So reading to him as a young child, and especially as he got old enough where we were able to go to the library, like 3 or 4, whatever, and the bookstores, I saw like a lot of great books, but a lot of them lacked diversity and color.
I got it.
So instead of complaining about it, I wanted to be a part of the solution.
So Trey, I heard a long time ago that idea that you have, that thing that you see is missing, that vision is yours. It's on to you to create it. So you're in the library, you're looking for books with character that look like your son, the real life Jojo Bean, and there weren't a lot.
Not a lot at all. I know when I was growing up, I don't know if you remember, the only book that I could remember, and this is throughout the whole, elementary school and secondary school and high school, the only book I could remember vividly was A Snowy Day by Ezra Jack Keats.
Okay.
That is the only book with a black character that I can remember.
Wow.
And that said something.
Not even the book being about them, but the only book with a singular black character.
And I could be wrong, but that's the only one. I mean, I love that book so much. That's the only one I can remember. I can remember where, where the wild things are. Well, that's about, monsters. And there's a study by University of Wisconsin that says in 2019 there were only 11% of all the books published. Now, I don't know if that's traditionally published or self-published like myself, but only 11% of the book had main characters who featured African Americans. For other cultures and races, is even lower.
Well, people that are listening to us, there's a couple of ways you can take that. You could take it as something's missing and let's get some signs and walk down the street. Or you could take the approach that Tracy took and you could write the book that's in you so it can be seen. There's so much in this. I want to take my time with this narrative and really, really tell this story. How important is it for children when they're reading in their intellectual growth and development to see people like them in being the hero of the story? How important is that?
Oh, it's very important. You want the child to grow with a self-confidence, never doubting themselves, never feeling like they're less than important. Well, how come my story doesn't matter? And the funny thing is that, well, Joseph's older now. He's never said it before, but I think a couple of weeks ago, we were talking about movies and Black Panther and all that stuff. And he said, Mom, Dad, how come there are not a lot of Black actors in movies who are featured, who are main? And we were like, that's why we do what we do.
That's why we're doing it, because Joseph, you haven't written those movies yet.
Yeah, absolutely.
You haven't written those movies yet. I think it's so important. I love the investment that some people, specifically I'll mention LeBron James, that's investing behind the scenes and bringing some of these stories to the forefront. LeBron James, Carmelo Anthony. I think it's a good spend of money to help people have their stories told, whether it's on screen, whether it's on Broadway, whether it's published in a book. Stories are everything. Going back to African culture, if you will, one of the most important members of the community was the griot, the person that is the keeper of the stories. Do you feel that griot responsibility in telling these stories?
Now that you mentioned, I guess so. I never thought about it that way, but I guess so. I just write what's in me, and just to be able to inspire others, especially our Black and brown children. So I guess I do.
So Trace, you've done a phenomenal job, not only of writing the books, but I think you've done a great job of branding and marketing yourself. And your brand is very similar to mine. My Kevin Spann brand that's behind me, I stand for three things: insurance, information, inspiration. The insurance I sell, the information, the inspiration is free. This is informative and very inspiring. And I noticed something that I would have asked you about later, but it jumps out to me, that looking at this first cover of Jojo Bean, you have diversity in it from the beginning.
Yeah, that was very important.
One of your characters that's featured here, Twisted Tina, has her own book. So let's talk about that. Who is Twisted Tina in real life?
In real life, I don't know if I could reveal the name.
Right. Keep it on the low then. Keep it on the low.
So when I first created Birthday Bubbles, the characters were inspired by my son's friends, because his friends were very diverse from different cultures. So Twisty Tina is a little bit of this person and a little bit of that person. So you have Twisty Tina, who's Caucasian, and believe it or not, Worry Wendell is Asian. Even though he's like Asian mix.
Nice.
So I wanted to represent that diversity, because watching Joseph and his friends just get along so well without all these issues, there's no political thing involved, they just see the heart.
Yes.
So I wanted to do that from the beginning, because that was the other thing that I didn't see. I didn't see a lot of diversity. It's either one of one thing and one of the other, which is fine, but I also wanted to bring the story of love and unity and diversity into the book.
The beauty of it is, well, that children are innocent. They don't know these things until we tell them. Tracy, you and I being Wyandanch warriors, maybe a little bit different. There was a few years between us in school, but we didn't go to school with a lot of diversity.
No.
It was mainly us.
Yes.
It was mainly us. Talk to me about your first introduction to diversity. Was that college? Was that the workplace? Talk to me about that experience.
It was in college. I went to school in Washington, D.C. at American University. And it was funny because when I told everybody, I'm going to school in D.C., everyone assumed Howard.
Right.
And I was like, no, it's American University. And at the time, people were like, where is that? But now it's well known. I did that deliberately because I wanted to experience firsthand diversity. So I went, and it was such a culture shock for me. I mean, I probably cried every day. I called my mother every day. My friends, my great friends now, my college friends, they're like, you need to get a hold of yourself. Because they were used to it. I wasn't. But but I learned to adapt, and I learned that people are people. You know, no matter what the race is, you're going to have some crazy people. You're going to have some people that don't study. You're going to have people that get all A's. You're going to have people who are there for you. You're going to have people who hate you. It doesn't matter.
So Tracy, let me just put this out there for those that don't know. If my memory is correct, it does fail me sometimes. Now that you're a member of the class of 86, you are the valedictorian of the class of 86.
Yes.
Let's go! Valedictorian, class of 86, and you go to Washington, D.C., a.k.a. Chocolate City, which is high, whatever the exact number, percentage black that it is. But instead of Howard, you go to American University, so you experience diversity in our nation's capital.
Right.
And you learn to get along. My experience is exactly the same. I didn't experience diversity until I went upstate to Eisenhower College, but I didn't really engage. I postponed my engagement, and I joined every black diverse organization I could, but it wasn't really until I entered the workforce at Allstate where one of the requirements was that you sit with your work group. So if you were a manager, you sat with managers. An underwriter, you sat with underwriters. And you couldn't handpick your friends that looked like you. So I'm very thankful that I was introduced to it that way, and I had to broaden my horizon. So first experience, American college. You leave American college. Where do you enter the workforce at?
No, I went from American University to graduate school. Okay. So I went to graduate school, and I got my master's in public administration, public finance.
Okay.
I went upstate to SUNY Albany.
Yes. Okay.
Freezing
very
cold.
Diverse environment, very cold. I went to school upstate, further north than that. You come home with your master's. Where do you enter the workforce at?
I entered the workforce. I actually had what they call a co-op. It's like a paid internship. I got it when I was in graduate school with United States General Accounting Office.
Okay.
I love that job so much. Oh my God. I experienced and did things. I was a evaluator.
Okay.
So we were tasked with evaluating federally funded programs. So whatever requests that a senator or a House of representative had about a program or whatever, we evaluated it and we gave them a non-biased conclusion
Looking at the
about
merits
it.
of the program, is this something that could help? Is this something that would benefit the community?
Yes.
Where was the job located at?
In New York City, 7 World Trade Center.
So there's a story that's here that I didn't know. You worked in the World Trade Center until when?
I wasn't there. I didn't work there for 9/11, but I did work there when the first explosion happened. Yeah, I remember that vividly because we had no idea. So I left there. What happened was they downsized, and there was a choice between Boston and New York, and they chose the New York office.
To downsize.
Downsize. So
date that. When did that happen?
That I'm going to say 1994, 94, 95, something like that. Yeah.
Okay, so 5 years, 6 years before the attack, 5 or 6 years. So everyone paying attention. World Trade Center, 9/11, obviously September 11th, 2001, we're under attack. 5 to 6 years before that, you're working there. Pre-attack, what do you remember about working in the World Trade Center?
Oh, it was just like the epicenter of everything. I loved working down there. I mean, every lunchtime they had a lot of music and activities. It was just vibrant and lively.
Tell me if I remember this incorrectly, and I think I do. Many years before that, I remember there being clubs and after-work spots that you can go to under the World Trade Center. Outstanding. Wow. So the decision of the company to keep the Boston office, close the New York office, what was the next transition? What was the next phase for you?
I worked for City University of New York.
Okay, stayed in the city.
In the budget office.
Kept that commute. Stayed on the railroad.
That was worse because that was on the east side.
Okay.
So it took me a minute. But I worked there. I loved that job too. But I was given, I think I was there for a couple of years, and I was given an opportunity to work for St. John's University as the assistant treasurer.
Outstanding.
So I went there for a year, and I realized this is not for me. It was like really stressful. And then I ended up getting a job as a financial reviewer or evaluator with Bailey House, which is a nonprofit organization. I was with them for a few years, and then I said, I can't do the commute anymore. I can't. It was stressful.
The commute is a second full-time job. As you know, my agency is in Queens.
Yes.
So when you were coming to St. John's, very close to Middle Village, where I'm based out of. But Tracy, you have a wealth of business experience long before coming to the district. And how much does that business experience come into play now that you're an independent contractor, author, that's branding, marketing, publishing, and promoting your own book? How much of that comes into play right now?
Oh, 110%. 110%, because I'm able to, I can create a spreadsheet for you like you wouldn't believe. And I'm able to look at the data and analyze, say, for example, okay, this book is not doing as well as it should. What can I do? What can we cut back? So I'm able to make those business decisions that are necessary to move the brand forward.
You can remove the emotion.
I can remove the emotion.
You can remove the emotion and say, they don't love my baby. Why don't they read? Is this, that?
Mike, on the other hand, is completely serious. like, what do you mean? I don't care. They don't like it.
No. That's the yin and the yang. I heard something yesterday. I think I was listening to someone else's podcast, and they talked about business decisions are a combination of data and gut feeling.
Yes.
You need both.
Yes.
You need both. Your intuition plus the data. It's just factual. You have to go
Exactly.
with the numbers. You have to go with the bottom line, and you can't be upset, because being upset for too long, you have to learn how to convert that anger into the next thing. So we have all this experience. I want to fast forward a few years. This is not your first venture in business.
No.
You created a phenomenal Spirit of Soul dance studio.
Yes. Great memories.
Great memories. You took a group of children, a small group of children. You grew that group of children all the way from practicing locally to the McDonald's Gospel Fest. Talk about that journey.
Oh my goodness, I had to remember our journey. Well, that was one of the ideas, one of my dreams. And then Mike, of course, he's like, let's just go for it. So next thing I know, we're looking for warehouse space and all that stuff. I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. But I knew that I wanted to give the students the same experience I had when I was growing up and dancing for Mr. Hayes. I wanted to give them that feeling of family, the feeling of confidence, and even just being able to go to each other or go to me or go to whatever teacher to talk about things maybe they might not necessarily be comfortable in.
So, I mean, that is phenomenal. You grew a phenomenal studio. You guys killed it. Dance game off the chain.
Thank you.
Obviously good. My own son, my middle son, Dominique, had a chance to dance with you. And that was phenomenal for him because it did give him that confidence. It's a life skill that he has. And when he stopped dancing and started playing basketball, I can remember Andre Edwards always saying, Nico, you good with the ball because you've been doing all of that dancing. Now you're dancing on the court.
Yes.
So definitely, I enjoyed the journey with you, going to the Apollo Theater, being behind the scenes, seeing that. Absolutely an incredible journey. And then I also remembered our conversation when you told me you thought you were done.
Oh, my goodness. Did I have that conversation?
Yes, you did. Yes, you did. We kind of were, I was just asking you what's next. Tracy's also my client. So in our journey of doing business, I was asking you about what's next. And you're like, Kevin, I don't know. And I think it was maybe before Joseph was born, or right around there.
Okay.
You were like, I don't know. And I shared with you, said, we never know how long anything is going to last. But if you don't have that get up and go about it, it's okay. It's okay to stop something after you've given birth to an idea and it goes that far and you've done everything you could do. You grew with a group of kids that started pretty young and then they graduated. It's hard to find that energy to do that again.
It is. And looking at them now all grown, it's just amazes me. And then when they come and they have so much love, and parents said, you really had an impact on my children. And I just never really thought about that. But I think I probably if it was before Joseph was born, that means I stayed open way past and I way past what I should have.
Right.
And then it got to the point. I remember that last year, I was just in a deep depression about my, things going on with myself personally. Like, what should I do? And then I was a mom of a young child. Joseph was 3, 2. So it was going through all of that. And I remember sitting in the corner of the dance studio. I'm like, I cannot do this anymore. Wow. I can't. I just sat there. I was watching one of my students who had grown with me teach, because she was my assistant teacher. She was in her 20s at that time. And I was like, I can't do this. I can't do this.
What's good, I've been in a lot of conversations, especially this past year and a half, just about mental health, mental well-being, and awareness. And you mentioned you were in a deep depression. How did you take yourself out of that space? What got you through it?
Prayer, and I really focused on my prayer life, Bible study. I met an amazing woman who we're still friends with now through a women's ministry that I discovered online. So that helped me a lot. And actually, that's when I started journaling and writing. And then I started writing for the women's ministry. I can't remember the name of it right now. So that really helped me to get up and out of that cave.
So these books are the birth of that process.
The beginning of
the beginning of
shortly after, yes, these books came about.
The beginning of the healing energy.
The healing, yes.
The beginning of the healing energy. Tracy, a lot of people that are going to watch this on IG, watch it on YouTube, or listen to it wherever they listen to podcasts at, a lot of people think they have books in them. Would you say journaling is the place that people should begin?
Oh, absolutely. I have so many journals. Yes, absolutely. You're able to get your thoughts down. And when you have these pages and pages of books, pages or pages in your journal, you look at it and say, well, wow, I can actually write a book.
So let's dial back.
And it's good practice, too.
Explain it to me like I'm a 2-year-old for someone that doesn't know how to begin journaling. What is a journal?
Our journal is a book that you keep of all your thoughts, of all your highs and your lows, of your dreams and aspirations, and maybe your nightmares as well too, and things that happen in your life.
And is it a way for you just to talk to yourself?
Yes.
Maybe
yes.
by writing,
right.
Or saying it out loud, but you don't necessarily have to share it with
anybody.
Right.
It's a reflection. I think that's a good word. It's a reflection. Absolutely.
It's a reflection. Is it empowering in the sense that once you've written it down,
you can see it on paper? Yeah, everything. I mean, for me and a lot of people, when you see it on paper or you just get it out, just pour it out, you just feel 100% better. Something about that whole writing process, about getting something out of you. I guess it's the same thing as if you cry. You cry after you cry, you feel better. It's the same thing with journaling.
Do you think sometimes people hold things and hold thoughts because they haven't written down and they haven't gotten it to the point of completion and really dealt with it? Or maybe there's something they have to say to somebody, but they haven't heard. But writing it, it's there.
Right. And then sometimes I think, too, people are probably afraid to write it down to see that the solution is in front of them, or they're afraid of what the solution might be, or they're just afraid of their own thoughts.
And would you say that if they would take this step to journal and begin to write it down, that the answers they seek may be inside of them?
Oh, definitely. Most definitely.
Not inside of...
Not inside, right? Not inside of Facebook. No offense, but I'm on Facebook too. You're like, what?
I'm on.
So,
my God.
Yep, within them.
Within them. And they'll find it when they write it, because maybe by the time you write it down...
Right. Seeing is believing.
Yep. Got to see it. Got to see it. I'm a writer in a sense that I end every night and I begin every day with a list, if you will.
Okay.
If I write it, there's a 50% chance I'm going to do it. If I don't write it, it's like a 99% chance. It's just not going to happen.
Right.
Because during the course of the day, we all get pulled in 1,000 directions. And It's a sports thing with me. I try to start the day strong. I check in at halftime around 12 o'clock. Say, Kev, did you do anything that you said you were going to do? And then at about 4 o'clock, I'll write myself a note saying, finish strong. Mm-hmm. Just finish today strong. Whatever you said you're going to do, finish strong until you stop. How does that come into play as a writer? So I'm going to go backwards through some of your journey. Working in the city, you're a commuter. Mm-hmm. That means you're up at a certain time. You're on the train 2 hours before you have to get to jobs, prepare for all that might go wrong. You're at the job, you're off the job, you commute back, and you're doing all that. That's the schedule. Working in the district, you're local. You're at like a big 5-minute commute. And you do the job, and you have things you carry, and then you ran your studio. So that's balancing time. Mm-hmm. What does your workday look like as a writer?
Okay, so I am not a morning person at all. I'm not. I find that I do most of my writing at night when the house is quiet and still and everyone's asleep. So I'll get up, have breakfast, look through my emails. I might do a couple of things. Right now I'm working on helping someone else to publish his book. He is an older gentleman who's down south, and he has a wonderful story. He's in his 60s, and he, I'd like to say skateboard. He kiteboards, he surfs, and he skis. And his message is, if I can do it, you definitely could do it too.
So we have the adventures of Jojo Bean, and we have the adventures of someone that's in their 60s, and they're doing these activities. So I have to ask, because this makes the story interesting and compelling. If I were to picture him visually, is he somebody I would think of as doing these activities?
No.
Okay.
No, I had to think about it. I mean, he's fit and everything, but just looking at him, no.
Okay.
No.
I got it. Is there traditional activities that someone growing up in Wyandanch like we would do? We don't know people that do any of these activities. Okay? That brings me to another point about Jojo Bean. I love the fact that Jojo Bean, in real life Joseph, very active in sports, but not necessarily traditional sports. The back of your car when you pulled up today, you have swim taxi.
Oh, yeah.
Talk to me about the swim taxi business. How does that work?
So one thing that my husband and I agreed upon before Joseph was born, there were 2 things he had to do. He had to do martial arts to learn how to defend himself.
Okay.
Not discipline, because a lot of people said, oh, you put him in for discipline. Like, no, that's what we're for. No, it's defending. And he had to learn how to swim. I can't swim a lick. I would drown if I probably would, but I can't swim. And Mike says he can't swim, but as long as the water isn't above his head, he's fine. Okay. So Joseph I started taking him to Mommy and Me classes, and then he started doing a one-on-one. And as he got older, he really loved it. So we took him to a safety swim, and he saw that trophy. It was like 10 levels, master swimmer. He's like, Mommy, Daddy, I want that trophy right there. And then we're sitting here calculating the money. I'm like, oh, okay. okay. And a lot of the kids that attend there, they quit once they learn how to swim, but not this kid. He went all the way and got his trophy and stuff. He did swim on the swim team with safety swim. But then we realized, and he realized, most importantly, he realized that he was bored. Okay. Because it's just a recreational thing. Got it. And he wanted to swim more seriously. And I have a good friend who talked to me and was like, Joseph, he needs to swim competitively. Because she was watching, and he's like, he's really good. So we had him to sign up, try out for Team Suffolk. And actually, he caught the eye of a guy who runs a swim camp.
Nice.
I mean, he flagged my husband down. Was like, I need to talk to you.
Let's go.
Yeah. And so he tried out for Team Suffolk a few years ago. He made it on the team. He had a wonderful experience 2019, but then 2020, things got shut down. They were able to swim last year not as much as they usually compete, but they were able to compete. So this is his 3rd season, and he got moved up pretty quickly with them.
Joseph's how old now?
11. He'll be 12 in March.
And swimming competitively. So I want to speak to a couple of audiences on this point. So for my whole non-black audience, which is plenty of you, one of the stereotypes, and for the black audience, one of the things they say is that we don't swim.
Yeah, black boys can't swim, but
Black
they
boys
can.
can't swim.
We
can,
yeah,
and we do.
Black girl, yeah.
I'll make you laugh. You know when I learned to swim? I took it as a class in college. I took it as a class, so I learned how to swim, but basic, not on Joseph's level. So phenomenal that he's into this, but phenomenal that he's competing, and most importantly that he likes it. When you love to do something, it's everything.
Yeah, his goal actually is he wants to be an Olympic swimmer. He said, "I'm going to make it to the Olympics." Even if it's the Olympic trial, there are a few swimmers on his team that made the Olympic trials. So he's like, "I don't care if it's the Olympic trial." That's his goal, and he also wants to go around, travel around the world, teaching children who can't swim and can't afford lessons to swim. And he also wants to be a lifeguard.
Wow.
Those are his goals.
I love his goals. I love his dream. And shout out to you and Mike for exposing him to this, non-traditional path, to allow him to do it. And then for sharing his stories through the book so other kids that read it can aspire to pursue a different path as well. That's awesome. Still doing martial arts, or he's good?
Oh, no, he's going to go all the way up to that, too. He'll be getting his first black belt the end of the month, and then he does mixed martial arts. So they have something called Mudan Shin, and they have to go through the ranks of the black belts until they get the final one. So he starts that next year when he turns 12. It's a lot of training. It's a lot of stuff they had to do for that test.
It's a lot of dedication and support. When I hear mixed martial arts, I think MMA.
Yes, that's exactly what it is. Yep.
All sort of fight styles. In and out of situations.
And he could, the Kali with the sticks and the sword and the whatever that staff is called, he can do all that. The knife and Taekwondo, Muay Thai, yeah.
Wow.
So he would probably kill. I mean, I'm not just saying that. He probably, yeah. If he got into a fight, it would probably be ugly.
Be bad. The good news is it's if.
Yeah, exactly.
Not when, because he's in an environment where he doesn't have to do it.
Right, and then they teach them not to use martial arts to show off or anything, but as a defense. And they tell them to do everything to try to diffuse the situation and use the fighting as a last resort.
I love it. And that's what I have friends that grew up knowing martial arts. Growing up where we grew up, it's kind of fighting is kind of part of it, part of making friends. But one of my friends has done it his whole life, from kindergarten through 12, fast forward today. He never had a fight. And I actually said, everybody knows you do this, but I never saw you really have a fight. He says, yeah. He said, I was close to a lot of situations, but I always had the confidence to walk away.
Yes.
He said, and God forbid if someone touched me, then I know 10 ways to end it very quickly, but it never got there. Wow. So I'm going to grab 2 more books that I got to show. So this is Delectable Vegetables with you looking at Joseph, not wanting his vegetables. And I think every parent out there can relate to that big time. What was the impetus for this story?
That one, actually, that's the second book. It's funny that you pulled that out. And, I mean, Joseph, we never had a problem with Joseph eating his vegetables. But then I thought about all the stories that I heard about parents. I'm like, I can't get him to eat their vegetables or try to hide it, try to do that. And I said, that's a story that anybody, it doesn't matter the color, any parent could relate to the child and the vegetables. What do all children want usually? They ask for chicken nuggets, French fries, pizza, cookie, everything, but, vegetables. I mean, some kids are fine, but so that's how that story was created. And actually, the lady on the cover, the mom, was taking in the likeness of my mom.
I love it. Love and caring, the big eyes, just really, and I see the resemblance. As well. So I'm going to pull 2 more books. I usually don't talk about insurance during the podcast, but there's some parallels here that I can't resist. Safety
Yes.
Safety first.
All about water safety. That's actually that book is very popular. Very
Okay.
popular. So it talks about water safety around the pool mostly. Jojo Bean's granddad takes him to the Newtown pool, and he has all these unsafe ideas about what he should do. And he's trying to convince him and his friends not to do it. And at the end, he does something. And then they talk to him about water safety. And at the end, I have a series, I don't know, maybe 10 or 12 rules, not only safety around the pool, but safety in the beach, the lake, and all that. Water safety rules.
Keep people safe. People are lost in drowning accidents every year, so
It's a
safety
big
is
issue.
everything. So, taking nothing away from your books, but of the books you brought to me today, I had a chance to read this one before we started, and this is not to give fair credit. This book is not by Tracy. The author of this book is young Joseph Francis.
Yes,
And
yes.
that's phenomenal by itself. Not only did Joseph write the book, he also did the illustrations.
Yes, he did.
So he drew the art.
Yes.
And what attracted me to this book, reading through it before we started, this book is about fire safety. And that's a direct parallel to my industry, where talking about this from the standpoint of a child about fire safety is everything. I can go there now, but I'll wait. But I think insurance companies, Allstate, if you're looking and listening in Northbrook, State Farm, if you're listening in Indiana, great way to tell fire safety stories to kids from a kid's perspective about what can happen and what they can do to help. So absolutely phenomenal. So the last book I'm going to grab on is Tina. And this is just like Power or 50 Cent series. You know, we introduced Tina way at the beginning. This is
14, 15.
14. And fast forward. Is this first or second? This is okay. She's at the birthday bash.
Last, yeah. This is
The coloring. And Tina, is this her first book?
that's her first book.
This is Twisted Tina. So she's a character that gets a spinoff
Yes.
and her own book. Talk to me about Twisted Tina not being ready for a pet.
So that story too. Well, Twisty Tina, just to let you know, of course, she's one
Twisty
of JoJo's.
Tina.
Yep, one of JoJo Bean's best friend. And the reason I gave her own book because every time we would go somewhere, the little girls, doesn't matter the color, they flocked to her. And Mike said you have to give her her own story. So I thought about what I could do different, and I said I need to start writing chapter books. So those books that are, you have your picture book, and then you have your early grade chapter books for those kids who are a little more advanced than picture book or ready to read on their own or with a little help. So that's what that book represents. But the story itself, Joseph, when he was in first grade, begged us for a pet.
Okay.
And Mike and I said, no way. We had a dog, a lab. We loved the lab. He died. We're like, that's it, no more. Loved the lab, but it was just too much. Died when Joseph was born, actually.
Oh, wow.
But Joseph begged us for a pet. I'm like, no, we don't even want to get you a fish. And so you probably know this firsthand. Grandma and granddad stuff in. Like, oh, you should get him a pet. We're going to get him. He wanted a hamster. I'm like, a hamster? Charlie just like run
No
on the
mouse in
wheel.
the house.
That's it. But so then my mom said, oh, let's get him a rabbit. What can I say to grandma and granddad? I'm like, ugh. So we had this rabbit. It was a lion head rabbit because their head looks like a rabbit. Cutest little thing. He named it Rufus.
Rufus, obvious name for the rabbit. Rufus
the rabbit. And it was fine. He got it for Christmas. It was fine. It was great. You know, it was off during the break. Then school comes. Joseph, did you feed the rabbit? Did you take him out to play with him? Did you change his water? And after a couple of months, Joseph's like, this is too stressful for me. So grandma and granddad took the rabbit back.
Got it.
And Rufus stayed with them until he died.
Oh, my gosh. Has there been a second pet?
No. And Joseph has become fondly attached to a couple of, well, one in particular, in his 6th grade science homeroom. His name is Tucker.
Okay.
And it's a snake.
Nice.
And I'm
Tough
like,
than a snake.
no, ma'am, can I please take it home? Because they get a chance to be considered. I guess they draw straws or whatever they do to figure out who's going to take it home for the break. Like, no, absolutely not.
Tucker is not going to be in rotation.
No, they take Tucker out all the time. They see what he's going to do. Joseph's held it. He's like, he likes me.
Oh, my God.
No, there's no snake, no bearded dragon, no fish, not even an ant.
Not coming. We got enough going on at the Francis household.
Yes.
We don't need that. We don't
No.
need that. We don't need that. Well, that is that's absolutely beautiful, absolutely phenomenal. Trace, I know from the beginning, again, my time with Wine Dance Day, that you guys have always done a lot in the community naturally. Jojo Bean has been in the community. He's marched in Wine Dance Day parades. Jojo Bean has now grown to be Jojo the Warrior. How many people have contacted you guys about just having him come to birthday parties and things like that?
Not birthday parties per se, but a lot of different events.
Okay.
We've been to the library a few times. I've done readings for schools as far as Michigan.
Okay.
Virtually.
Wow.
Events out east. So it's more events than birthday parties.
Especially in the world that we're in right now. Especially the world that we're in right now. I'll tell you why I asked the question. I fast forward, my natural children, they're older now, but my grandchildren are 2 and 8. And when I was looking at everything, just doing a little bit of research online before talking to you today, obviously I'm seeing what you're doing, but not completely cognizant. My God, my granddaughter JD is 8 right now. So these books, she's right in this transition of reading chapter books right now. The chance for someone to do that, to have you or Joseph, or to have a birthday, a party where books are given out, maybe instead of the sweets, is much more filling. It's much more filling. It's such a different experience for kids. And a lot of people talk about going back to normal. I have no interest in going back to what it was. I'm constantly looking for what's next and what's new. So what you're doing, I definitely think is next, and I definitely think is new, and I think it's something people should consider. Tracy, where can people find you?
My website is www.tracewilkinsfrancis.com. I am also on Instagram, Tracy, or it's spelled Trace, Wilkins Francis. On Facebook, it's Trace, Wilkins Francis, author. And I think I have a Twitter page too, but I'm more active on Instagram and Facebook.
Beautiful, beautiful. So I'm doing my hand like this for my editors. I definitely want all that on the bottom so it shows up and we can have that and people can find you. I'm loving from a business standpoint your marketing acumen and how you're building a community and how you're interacting with people on Instagram. You played a phenomenal game with your birthday recently, asking about your favorite books, favorite movies. How are you enjoying that interactive experience?
Oh, I love it. I love it. It's a good way to connect with people, especially given some of the restrictions. So I always love to interact with people to see what's going on and to get that engagement.
You are. There's a book. You're an avid reader. I'm an avid reader. Probably different kinds of book. I like to read business books. I think it's called Fanatical Fans, and you're building a fanatical fan base in that you have people that want to hear from you. If they subscribe to your page, you have the thing where did you hear what's next, where you're notifying them in advance. I think it's phenomenal. Another business question for you. One of the things I really enjoyed as well is I'm watching you network. I'm watching you network with crafting groups. I'm watching you network with other Black authors. I'm watching you work with different people. So talk to me about how you got into networking in this space and some of the things what brought you there and what are you discovering and, what's next in that space? So
as authors or as writers, it can be very isolated, and I didn't want to be isolated. So I joined a couple of Facebook groups and connected with people there. But in terms of the books itself, I knew when I created them, I wanted people to have a very specific experience, a very playful and a very fun, energetic experience. That's why everything is colorful. Even the way I dress is always colorful.
Yes.
And then I wanted to think, well, what else could I do to engage people? Because it's more than just the book. It's the experience. It's the brand. So kids love the crowd. Adults love the crowd. My friend who I was telling you about that I met during the online ministry, she's a big crafter.
Okay.
And I think one of her relatives owns a crafting business in Florida or something like that. So that's when I started doing the crafting with her. The mommy blogger, Mommy Friends of Long Island, I met her years ago and we did an event at Eisenhower Park and we stayed connected. She loves to cook. Her daughters love to bake. So then she had the idea. She reached out to me, Tracy, let's do baking up conversations. And in fact, I'm glad you said that because I had to reach out to her. We missed the summer because everything going on. But so I connected with her. So we kind of, help each other out with her blog. I helped to promote her blog. She helps promote the books. And we love each other. We're great friends. So it's things like that.
It's phenomenal to me how you're connecting with different people, not only locally, but you're using the internet the way it should be used.
Yes.
There's someone in Florida that's doing something, and you're doing the same thing.
Right.
We're a click away from kicking it. We good.
Right.
We're friends.
Right. And the cross marketing or cross connections there, it's key. It's key to expanding any business. I had and how did she find me? She found me, I think she said she did research. She is out in Washington State.
Okay.
She is a member of the Elk Lodge out there in Bremerton. And she reached out to me. I thought it was a hoax because, at the time, there was a lot of hoax going on.
Right.
And I said, this can't be right. And then I started Googling her. I said, oh, this is serious. So I reached out to her. She bought a couple hundred of the Safety First books because they got a grant for to expand reading, and the purpose of one of their programs is to talk about safety. So each season they do a different safety, and it was coming up on summer, so water safety.
Nice.
So she reached out to me and purchased over 200 books to give out to the students out there. So it's things like that. And then, someone else reached out to me. She's in the Bronx. She's a African-American business owner. She just started her business last year or earlier this year. It's a Christmas. Everything, she makes Christmas ornaments that are all Afrocentric or African, based. Oh, my goodness gracious.
Okay.
So she reached out to me because she bought the Christmas coat book on Amazon and she fell in love with it.
Okay.
So she
this is the Christmas coat book.
Yeah, the one that's wet now.
No problem.
So we started talking and she bought a bulk of the books and she was so inspired and loved the book so much that she created a special ornament. It's I think this jacket to go with the Christmas coat book when she vends and sells on her website.
I love it. So we plugged everything. So I'll be a bad host if I didn't at least give some camera time to Park
Blues. Yes. So that is, kids, they go to the park and everything is great, but for some reason, sometimes they get bored. Like, how can you get bored in the park?
Yes.
So it's all about Jojo he gets bored at the park and he has this great but not so safe idea to play Superman on the swings or something like that. And he goes running and he's not aware of his surroundings and he falls in that hole. And it takes everyone in the park to come together to brainstorm ideas of how to get him out this hole.
I love it. And then lastly, we're recording this now. This is going to be dropped probably pre-Christmas. I don't know the exact date. You also have a coloring book.
This is the coloring book and activity book. This is available now, but it's only on my website. But I am also, it should be today at some point, publishing a Halloween coloring book.
Let's go. So, Trace, this is the way I think. I always think a lot of things economic. There's a couple of things. Number one, as a parent and a grandparent and an uncle, I think of a series of these books for my nieces and nephews, my grandchildren. But you shared something about the controversy now about things being taught in school. What is the argument? Why wouldn't anyone want to have books about diversity in school so we can have a better understanding of one another?
Fear, fear of the unknown, fear that they might discover something about themselves that they didn't know about. And I would say, I don't want to say ignorance, but it's a bit of ignorance there, because why not share everyone's story? And so the what Kevin is talking about, I heard on the news yesterday, and then I read the post that Jerry Craft, who is the author of several great graphic novels, he's African American, including the book called The New Kid, which is about a seventh grader, an African American seventh grader, who wants to go to an art school, but instead his parents enroll him in this prestigious school that's predominantly white. I think it takes place in New York City. And so it's about his journey of being the new, not only the new kid, but probably one of the only few black kids in the school, and being able to navigate between that world and the world that he comes from, as I think is Washington Heights.
Okay.
So to me, it's just a story, but they turned it into critical race. Like, why would, you know how many kids go through that? Why wouldn't you want, not only black kids, but why wouldn't other races want to know, oh, wow, I didn't know you went through that. Anybody can go that. It could have been a white kid going to a predominantly black school. It doesn't matter.
It happens. We live in a very transient world. Where I'm at, I'm in the Worldsboro, Queens. It's a little bit of everybody. Everybody has their backstory of what they're going through because they're different. And the more we learn about each other, the better it's going to be. So if there's any administrators, any schools out there, businesses, if you interact with me, you know who I am. You know what I stand for. You know what my brand is. And obviously, if you interact with me, we're great on diversity together. This is a phenomenal way to introduce reading, also to introduce a different perspective to anyone. So please keep this in mind in your gifting and your conversations. And maybe you're in a district that's the opposite of the district that Tracy and I grew up in. Our district was 99 and one way. Maybe you're 99 and one the other way. It's a great way for us to learn about each other. It's a bright new world ahead of us that's going to be so different, so interesting, so inclusive. And the sooner we all get introduced to it, the better we will be.
Absolutely.
Trace, we went every way from Sunday to Saturday that I could think of. Is there anything I could have or should have asked you about what's next for Tracy, what's next for Jojo the Warrior, what's next for Jojo Bean? Anything I should have touched upon that you would like to share?
Well, I'm working on 2 middle grade novels that's between the ages of 9 and 12. One is a fantasy book, and yeah, that's going to be interesting. It's going to talk a lot about some of the issues that kids go through today with bullying and things like that. It'll address that. And then another book that I was inspired by Joseph and his best friend. And then I was also inspired by looking at his other friends, because he goes to private school as well. So there's these 2 different worlds, but they just see it as one cohesive world. So I just found that really fascinating. And the story will be based around that.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it.
Oh, and I forgot, because I told Joseph I was coming on this podcast.
Yes.
And he said, oh, I want to come. Like, you have school. He's like, but can you tell everybody to subscribe? So, yes, my Joe, the Warrior, has a YouTube page. And let me tell you, some of his videos hit like 6,000. I'm saying,
hold up.
Like, I need to talk to you about marketing. You know?
Hold up. So how's that written? Joe the Warrior. How's it spelled exactly?
It's just Joe, J-O, space the Warrior on YouTube. So if you could subscribe to his page, he would love that. He does put up some amazing content. I have to give it to him. This kid is, well, I guess he can't help himself. Like, he's really creative.
Well, 2 creative parents, that only makes sense. So people, please subscribe to Joe the Warrior, to his YouTube page, and share it with the kid, and share it with the kid, and share it with a kid. And let's help Joe blow up.
Yes. And the other thing is, my husband is a filmmaker and in movies. He's working a couple now. But I am excited because I will be publishing his book.
Whoa.
Called Borrowed Time. And it's all about his experiences working as a medical examiner and the medical issues that he's going through and how the experience as working for the morgue, I'm just going to say, the morgue has carved his journey dealing with his medical issue.
I love it. I love it. You want to give voice to the medical issue, or you want to save it for another day?
I'll save it. Well, should I save it? It's multiple myeloma.
Okay.
It's multiple myeloma.
Okay.
Yep.
So that's phenomenal. Shout out to Mike again. Very, very grateful that he's well and making it through his journey. Look forward to the publishing of the book. Just amazed. I don't know how to close this conversation because there's so much more to talk about, but we've been at this somewhere around an hour, so it is time. So for more, I hope I've asked enough good questions to leave you thirsting for more. Whatever I was remiss in doing, please follow her online. Ladies and gentlemen, phenomenal woman, Tracy Francis.